Hey, good night, everyone. I just came down the road from teaching a long 3-hour class. And I said, okay, before I get in to doing some work or probably even going to bed, let me record a video. Right. So today I was in the bank, also doing some transactions, and there was a long wait in the bank, and I went to while I was waiting. I know I probably had a half an hour of wait, and I said, let me just read up of some stuff, read some articles, and see if it motivates some topic for this segment that I'm gonna present. Right? Just a little joke before the while I was waiting in the bank, one of the attendants, the CSRs, right? So I went to her and I said, okay, y'all have anything to read? Because I realized I'm going to be here for 30 minutes or 45 minutes or even an hour. Y'all have anything, any brochures to read? She watched me. First thing she did is she watched me and she said, hey, you don't have a phone? So I took out my, I don't have it here. I took out my Me Too phone, right? That's what I run around the place with. And I show her, I say, this is what I have. And when she watching Me Too phone, she realized, okay, I realized you really need a brochure. You really need a brochure. So she went, got a brochure for me, all right, and I started reading. And when I looked at it, I realized, it's an airline brochure. And I said, wait, I know I'm going to kick off the world travel segments later on this year, in June or July, right? So in June, July, I'm supposed to have a couple of flights. I'm supposed to have my Central American tour, right? So the plan is to go to a couple of about 6 or 7 Central American countries, right? And also do full footage of them, right? I'm probably going to do a number of conferences and so on, but let me do that. And I thought about that. I say, wait, I never did a segment on carrier airlines. It's important persons need to know the different carrier airlines. And then I was actually reading the airline, the travel brochure, and I say, okay, I need to do a segment on full service carrier and low-cost carrier airlines. It's very important. Many persons use airlines, they don't understand or they don't have an idea that there are different type of carrier airlines. There's full service and there's low-cost carrier airlines, right? And they need to know the difference so they can make a better decision on which airline they go with. So today, this session is based on full service carrier airlines and low-cost carrier airlines. I'm going to take you all through the definition of what they are, some examples of those different airlines, right? And I'm also going to give you all some key differences between those two airlines so that you're better able to plan your trips. You have them in mind so that you could actually select your airlines and know very well beforehand what you are getting from these different carriers. So I don't complain that you went on an airline, they didn't give you any food, or they charge you to go and check in a bag. Up front, this is the airline I'm choosing. I'm choosing this airline. They are low cost carrier. Don't expect much. This airline I'm going with, I want more luxury, I'll go with this other airline. So today we're gonna address that. So stick with me, I'll take you all through it. So let's dive straight into it. Let's begin with a full service carrier airline, and that is also known as a legacy airline, and it's one of those traditional air carriers that adds ancillaries are included in the ticket fare, right? So you recognize them by the high prices, the high ticket prices, and they basically have a lot of ancillaries included in them, right? And that is catered for in the ticket fare, right? So airlines like Emirates, American, British Airways, they are known as full service carrier airlines, or also known as legacy airlines, right? So they normally would have a wide range of ancillaries in their ticket fare included in the cost of the ticket. So you get probably 3 or 4 meals, depending on the routes. You get entertainment, and you get a wide range of things added, right, to your service, and those are reflected in the ticket fare, right? So what about low cost carriers, right? Those are the ones that offer low prices, right? And they charge you extra for additional services, right? So what happens with low cost carriers, and I have a definition for them. Low cost carrier is an airline that does not offer traditional services that are normally included as part of the fare, therefore offering lower fares at the expense of fewer comforts. So what generally happens is that they offer you a very low cost. That's why they call them low cost carriers. Very low cost. Everything you would have been given by the traditional full service carrier airlines at an expense, right, that would have been included in the ticket fare already by the full service carrier airlines, the low cost carrier airlines would be charging you extra for it, right? So a major difference, before we go into the differences of these carriers, is that the full service carriers, they include the cost of all these things. They give you no choice. They add them. They add these luxuries and comforts to your package, and they add the cost of them to the ticket, right? You have no choice. They try to have a executive package for their flyers, so they include everything and they charge it to the bill, right? So the ticket prices tend to be higher. Whereas the low cost carriers, they tend to just they charge you a very low cost, right, for travel. All of the luxuries and comforts, meals, entertainment, everything, right, stripped away from your package. You just have a more or less a bare bones package, right? And if you want additional stuff, right, if you want meals, you want entertainment, you want Wi-Fi, anything, they charge you extra. So if you were to compare the cost of the low cost carrier before you add anything, compared to the full service carrier, this full service carrier would have a significantly higher cost, right? But if you start to add things that you would have gotten in the full service carrier, you tend to realize that the cost starts to creep up close to what you have the low cost carrier, and you add those services that you would have gotten in the full service carrier, and you realize it tends to creep up to the cost that you would have paid if you had just flown with the full service carrier, right? It's not going to get as high, but because I'm going to show you the differences and why it impacts, but it tends to creep up to that. Sometimes it might go over, but it tends to creep up to that price, because you would have paid the low cost carrier a very low fee, which includes nothing, not even baggage, right? So let's talk about the low cost carrier examples. Southwest Airlines is a low cost carrier. Ryanair, low cost carrier. EasyJet, low cost carrier. Frontier, and JetBlue. And there's lots of them. I'm just calling a couple of examples, but JetBlue. So if you ever travel in these airlines and you realize you have to pay for baggage, and they only allow you a carry-on, and everything else you have to pay, right? It may be because they are low cost carrier, right? Whereas in British Airways or Emirates, you may be allowed two free bags, you know, and they may have meals and so on. So that's the difference between full service carrier and the low-cost carrier, and some examples of airlines that are classified under those. So let's go into the differences of full-service carrier airlines and low-cost carrier airlines. So the first difference is on their strategic focus, right? Now, full-service airlines like American Airlines or even Lufthansa, right, focus on network profitability, right? Whereas low-cost carriers, they focus on route profitability, right? Now, what we mean by this, think of it this way: American Airlines, it still flew 95 domestic destinations and 95 international destinations across 55 countries during the early months of the pandemic, right? Think about that. And that's because American has multiple hubs, including Dallas, Los Angeles, Chicago. So what they often like to do, right, they often let marginal routes, right, survive if they feed passenger traffic to hubs, right, through a hub and onto a highly profitable route, right? And it helps them, and why they do this is it helps them subsidize less profitable routes, right? So they tend to let those marginal routes feed traffic to high profitable routes, and that profit could be used to subsidize less profitable routes. So they really focus on network profitability, right? Now, low cost airlines, right, they tend to let routes live or die based on their own performance, right? So a route is performing well, they let it live. A route performs is performing bad, it might not survive, okay, right? They, rather than focusing on hubs and connectivity, low-cost carriers focus on point-to-point, right, connectivity and individual route profitability, right? So they really dislike the subsidizing of underperforming routes, right? They really don't like the full service carriers. These low cost carriers tend not to like to subsidize these underperforming routes, and they just tend to let them die, right? One thing basically is low cost carriers, because of this behavior, all right, they are in a greater position to experiment, right, with new routes than the full service carriers, right? So that's the first one, differences in strategic focus. So another difference in the full service carrier versus the low cost carrier, basically the fleet composition, right? So let's look at some examples for this discussion. Southwest Airlines has over 730 planes, right? And they all are variants of the Boeing 737, right? So you will really see them focus on one type of variant, variants of one type of airline. In the case of Southwest, it's the Boeing 737 and variants of it. So you might see 737 MAX, 737-8, 737-800, 737-900, 757, right? Boeing 727, and the whole variants of all of them, of 737 fleet, right? The 737 Boeing airline, you're gonna have a variety of those. Southwest Airlines would have them in their fleet. Let's look at the Frontier Airlines. They have about 110 planes, and they are all from the Airbus A320 family, right? If we were looking at Ryanair has over 260 planes, all 737s, right? All Boeing 737s, right? But if we were to now compare the low-cost carriers like those Southwest and Frontier and Ryanair, compare them to the full-service carrier airlines like the British Airways or the United Airlines. British Airways has at least 9 types of aircraft in its extensive fleet. It has hundreds of planes with different types of airlines. They had the Boeing airplanes in its fleet, right? 777, 300 ER extended range. It also has the Boeing 777, 200 long range. It also has on the Airbus side, it has A380s, right? It has the Airbus. So it has a lot of different different planes, right, in its extensive fleet, right? United Airlines, the same thing. It has several types of planes in its fleet, and the United Airlines has over 800 planes in its fleet, right? Singapore Airlines has about I think 140 planes, but of those 140 plus planes, there's about 6 to 7 different types of aircraft, right? If we look at Emirates has hundreds of planes in its fleet, right? Lots of 777s, lots of A380s, right? And the new plane that's coming out now is the Airbus 350, right? That plane looks like it actually is wearing shades, right? That's how you notice that is the Airbus A350, right? So that is a major difference between the fleet composition. So a third difference between full-service carrier airlines and low-cost carrier airlines is that of the airports they focus on. Now, low-cost carrier airlines tend to focus on secondary airports, right? Less expensive airports they tend to focus on. So, for instance, the Southwest Airlines, they more or less favor the Love Field Airport in Dallas versus the shinier Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Now, outside Melbourne, the Jetstar airline tend to fly to the lonelier Avalon Airport, right? So generally, the low-cost carriers, they tend to focus on these secondary airports especially because the landing and ground fees they cost less at these airports compared to the more expensive airports. So they're going to be seeing airlines like the British Airways and Emirates focusing more on the more expensive airports like JFK, London Heathrow, right? So they tend to focus on those, and that is more in line with what they want to offer to their clients. They want to offer some luxury, some sort of executive looking package. So they want to make sure that they touch down on the expensive airports, and all those expenses, ground fees, landing fees, they are channeled down to you when you purchase their tickets. It is reflected on your ticket from these airlines, right? So that's why you expect that the full service carriers, they tend to be a bit more expensive, right? They focus more on the primary airports, whereas the low cost carriers focus on the secondary airports. Another difference between full service carrier airlines and the low-cost carrier airlines is that of the distribution channels, right? And that really is how you're going to buy a ticket. So, for instance, the full-service carrier airlines, they tend to have a wide range of distribution channels, right, for selling the tickets, and that is reflected in a ticket. Whereas the low-cost carriers, they tend to just sell the tickets on their website, and this gives them greater control over the cost of your ticket, and it also ensures that they cut out the cost of actually having to sell the ticket. So if they were to use some middleman or some agent to sell their tickets, the low-cost carriers cut out that cost because they sell it directly to you through their website. So that extra cost of selling a ticket, which would have been included on the cost of the ticket from the full service carrier, is cut out by the low cost carrier. So the distribution channels for selling the tickets, that is a major difference between full service carrier and low cost carrier. So the last difference I want to focus on, and there may be a bit more, but I want to focus on the revenue sources for these airlines. So the low-cost carriers, they rely heavily on ancillary revenue to make money. So these extra costs, you're going to be charged a very cheap fare or very low cost, and they're going to add on costs for these services. You want extra baggage, you add on a cost. You want food, add on a cost. You want Wi-Fi or whatever, they add the cost. You want a blanket to keep warm in the cold plane, they add a cost, right? I mean, I believe if they had the opportunity to add a cost for you to access the bathroom facilities, I believe they would do it, right? So just to show you, right, they add on these costs, basically things they would have been getting in your package from a full service carrier, right? That is full service carrier would have added the cost already. The low cost carrier tends to add, they tend to charge you additional costs if you want it. They guarantee that you're going to get from A to B, you're going to fly through with the airline from A to B with nothing, no food, nothing free. But if you want those things, you're going to have to pay for it, right? So just be happy that you're actually able to use the bathroom facilities without cost, right? A study in the United States suggests in 2019 low-cost carriers, they raked in more than $100 billion from ancillary revenue, right? So they're making a lot of money in this from this form of revenue, right? Now, full service carrier airlines, they tend to charge a flat fee. They charge a flat fee, right? And everything is included. Every single thing is included that you might want. So they're going to make a lot of extra money from those services, even if you don't use them, right? So this is why I say, if you are flying with a full cost carrier airline and they're giving you these things, don't refuse it. I was last year. I flew a couple of times last year in 2022, and there was one flight I was taking, and I'm telling you, I wasn't that a full service carrier, and they're just giving you food, they're giving you drinks, they're giving you blanket to cover up, they're giving you headphones. I had some people, a couple next to me, these people were refusing half of the things. You know, they're refusing to eat the food. They say, we ate before we came here, and they forgot about the food, they forgot about the drinks, they forgot about all the things, the blanket to cover up. And I be thinking in my mind, I say, you're paid for this, right? And you're getting them, right? So if you're using a full service carrier, use the things that they're giving you because you paid for it. Otherwise, go with a low-cost carrier where you just would not use it, you would not pay for it, right? And you just get exactly what you want. You just pay for what you want, right? So the full-service carrier, continuing with the full-service carrier airlines, they tend to also make money from other revenue streams, right? From cargo businesses. Some of these airlines have their own cargo business. So British Airways has its cargo business, American has its cargo business, Emirates, I believe, has its cargo business, right? Lufthansa has its cargo business. So these airlines tend to have their cargo business, which allows them to generate revenue outside of carrying passengers, right? They also have frequent flyer programs. So this is something you all need to know. Frequent flyer programs are set up. They may be set up this to make it look like if you are benefiting a lot, and you may benefit, if you're a frequent flyer. But if you're not a frequent flyer, right, you may not benefit from these programs as you would if you were a frequent flyer. But generally, all I'm trying to say is that these airlines would benefit from frequent flyer programs, right? They may they're going to give you a lot of offers, right? And as I say, if you are a frequent flyer, you tend to get certain things back, which is good, right? If you're not a frequent flyer, then I would suggest not subscribing to the frequent flyer program if it's not going to benefit you at all, right? If you have a frequent flyer program and it requires you to pay a fee, additional fee to be on the program, and you don't fly frequently, then you might be you might be wasting some money over there. But if you're a frequent flyer and there's an opportunity that you could maximize this, if there's a fee to pay, I would suggest, take advantage of it. But airlines also, these full service airlines also benefit from the frequent flyer program, right? And also interest in subsidiary airlines, right? There are some airlines that also own shares in other airlines. So the profits that those other airlines make, they also benefit from it because they are part owners of those other airlines, right? So full service carrier airlines have many forms of revenue, whereas the low-cost carrier airlines, they tend to make the bulk of their money through adding extra charges for ancillaries, right? So the question is, which one should you choose? Full service carrier airlines or low-cost carrier airlines? Which one? This all depends on what you are looking for, first of all, and it also depends on your price point. How much can you put towards buying a ticket for this route? I would say that if, for instance, you have a very, very small budget that could only fit a low-cost carrier airline ticket, then there's nothing else you could do. Get the low-cost carrier ticket, and then decide if there are certain things you need, how you're gonna fund it. So if you're on the low-cost carrier, you get a cheap ticket, you're already getting to fly to the next country, right? If you need a meal during the flight, you have to determine how you're gonna do it. Whether you should go and bring something from home so that you could actually have something to eat on the flight, or what, right? Now if you're in a situation where you have no food and no money to buy food, then you should be thinking real hard about whether you should be flying. Because if you are flying and you cannot afford food while you're on the airline, or even after, then you shouldn't be flying as yet, right? But just to make the point, if you have that covered, you have spending money and so on, but you have just enough money to pay for the low-cost airline, then go to the low-cost airline. Now if you have a lot more access to money for a more luxurious flight, then you could go with the full service airline. They're gonna include everything in the ticket: food, drinks, baggage. They're gonna include all of that, right? And they're gonna have fun, right? But back on the first point, so that deals with the cost. The first one is, what exactly do you want? Do you want a fantastic, sensational flight with everything in it? Well, if that's the case, go the full cost carrier airline, but it's going to cost you much more than a low cost carrier. If money is not the problem and you want a full service, get the full service carrier airline. So I hope that was very beneficial to you all. We learned about what is a full service carrier airline, what is a low cost carrier airline, examples of these airlines, what companies do have these airlines, and we learned about some differences between these two classification of airlines. Right, I hope this benefits you all. I hope this basically changes the way in which you book flights. Sometimes you may be booking flights and you realize that they have a couple of full service carrier airlines, and you have to choose a mixture of full service and low cost carrier airlines for a destination to get from A to B, right? Or you might have the option of just full service carrier airlines, and you want to know why the cost is so expensive, and you want to know why you end up on the plane and you hardly get any food or anything. This should answer your questions to those things. So I hope it was informative. I'll see you all in the next one. I look forward to us having more of the world. This is Dr. George World Travel segments. I'm gonna have a lot of them when I start to do these tours in different areas. But I wanted to kick it off today with the carriers, right? Full service carriers, low cost carriers. So I'll see you all in the next one.